Now it's time for our second Titan build of Renegades, and I have to say that I think this one will surprise you guys. You're an offensive powerhouse that sets off ignitions left and right to nuke entire groups of enemies, and it's so dang satisfying to watch. And no, this build does not use the exotic strongholds. We're using a different exotic that fits perfectly into the build and the gameplay loop that I'm trying to accomplish, and I think you guys will like it. But speaking of strongholds real quick, I've seen a lot of comments about whether they're that good and people only blocking with them and how to properly use them, yada yada yada. Well, guess what, Guardians? You play the game however the frick you want. If you enjoy blocking behind a bolt charge barricade, then go for it. If you think strongholds aren't good, then don't use them. If you think they should have a certain playstyle, then that's your opinion. The choice is yours to make. At the end of the day, you play Destiny the way you want, and if you find a certain playstyle fun for you, then you do you. Don't let anyone take that enjoyment from you. That's why I post so many different builds. You might try 10 different builds and then come across that single one that just resonates with you. It breathes new life in your day-to-day activities, and that's all I hope to accomplish out of my videos. I would say the only way you can actively be hurting your team in ultimate content, which is where I record all my gameplay, you know, minus 30 under, is by dying over and over and using up all the res tokens. If you're not doing that, then you're good. We all have different skill levels, and that is okay. I just want you guys to have fun out there. Anyways, I had to get that small rant out because I've seen a lot of comments on my last Titan video, and way too much of people lately telling others what's the right and wrong way to play, and those dudes are just so full of it that you don't even need to listen to them. Anyways, we're leading in with the unbreakable aspect on the Prismatic Titan. It's doing a ton of work for us. It provides void overshields for us, which is 70% damage reduction. It weakens targets on hit thanks to a fragment. And what this means for us on Prismatic is it procs both artifact mods that are Singularity Blade, while you have a void elemental buff, which will be either void overshield or devour. Our sword hits weaken targets, and sword final blows create weakening burst. So now we have this source from our sword that will just weaken everything, and our unbreakable aspect that we hold and let off will weaken everything, and we pair that with power from pain. Rapid final blows against weakened combatants grant you devour. So now we have an infinite source of weaken and devour on the Prismatic Titan. And this opens up a nice playstyle and gameplay loop that I wanted to accomplish. Essentially what you're gonna do is lead in with Unbreakable, let off that shield burst whenever you think is ready or against a high health target like a champion. You're gonna weaken everything in front of you. You'll probably have a void overshield coming out of it. Also, that Unbreakable blast that you let go will suppress everything in front of you, so they stop shooting at you. They walk away with their hand over their face. So then you go right into your 3 light attacks and your heavy attack combo with the Praxic Blade. Since those targets were weakened, and since you have a void overshield, your sword is weakening them as well. With that one combo and combined with our Hammer of Soul super, our Praxic Blade is scorching on hit, thanks to the impact core we're using, where melee damage from this weapon applies the elemental buff matching our subclass, so that is Scorch. One light attack into heavy attack combo will set off that ignition. Ignitions are still one of the strongest AoE moves in the game, and it's pretty much guaranteed to kill everything around the champion, if not right out kill the champion. So since you're killing everything around it that was weakened from your Unbreakable Blast, you're proccing Devour just off that ignition going off. So you led with that Unbreakable Blast, then you did the sword combo, and now you have 2 options coming out of that sword combo. Either hit your grenade again, hold it down, move to the next group, let off the blast and continue your chain, or use your thruster ability. And we pair that thruster with Dringer's Lash. I actually needed to use this more often in the gameplay, but I kind of kept forgetting that I had it available. When we use that thruster, it'll create that unstable knot of strand matter that goes up into the air and detonates, and will suspend targets around you. It's just another layer of survivability, another layer to crowd control enemies and keep you safe. But since we have 2 charges of that unbreakable aspect, you're gonna have it back so often that you could probably use 2 in a row. You'll see in the gameplay here, I think in the second room, where I'm just using them non-stop to move around, and it's a pretty fun gameplay style to play. You do want to take Suppressor Grenade with it as well. So when we add in our fragments here, we take Facet of Dominance, your Void Grenades weaken targets, and your Arc Grenade jolt targets. This allows Unbreakable to weaken enemies in front of you. We'll also take Facet of Ruin, which increases the area effect of solar ignitions and gives us a +10 to weapon stat. And it's just going to make those ignitions hit more enemies all around you. We'll take Facet of Protection, 15% damage resistance while surrounded, and even more when you're in Transcendence. Facet of Hope, while you have 2 elemental buffs, we get that 60% increase in class ability regen to pair with that thruster ability and Dringer's Lash. Next we'll take Facet of Purpose, so when we pick up an Orb of Power, we'll grant ourselves Restoration. And then we'll also take Facet of Grace. Defeating targets with kinetic weapons grants you bonus Transcendence energy. And remember, Titan probably still has the strongest Prismatic Grenade that applies Jolt and Suspend to everything it hits. Really strong and ad clear. has a great AoE, and really good for unstoppable champions. But our ignition that goes off does stun the unstoppable champion, and our blade takes care of barrier champions. So really it's just overload champions that you need to work in. And guess what? Suppression from your unbreakable would stun them. So would the jolt from the prismatic grenade. And that's not even including our other two weapons. So we've went over the subclass and the artifact mods. We also went over the Praxic blade with impact core, which will scorch targets. I still like the hyperblade trait on there, just so when you block shots you can become amplified, right? Another source of damage reduction, and you do want to be amplified all the time if you can. For our exotic of choice, we're going to take Armamentarium. This got a nice buff this season. It feels really good now. You gain that additional grenade. Grenade final blows spawn an orb of power, so it basically has firepower built into it. But they added weapon final blows grant grenade energy. I believe this is just like the demolitionist perk, so you get about 10% grenade energy coming back on a weapon final blow, which includes our swing from our sword. But since we have Devour, we're getting about 15% of our grenade back from Devour as well. So each kill we're getting is about 25% of our grenade back, if not more. So I think Armamentarium feels really good now. It's a fun playstyle on the Titan, and there's a lot of applications you can take Armamentarium to. If you haven't tried an Arc Titan yet with the pulse grenades, like, man, talk about strong grenades that clear everything for you. Now let's go over the stats and the mods, and they help out a ton in the neutral gameplay. I'm showing you the total stats right now with font mods included. We have about 150 grenade. It allows that unbreakable to hit 30% harder, so it makes it feel better. My super was up around 130. Just allows our Hammer of Soul to hit a little bit harder, and I'm not gonna lie, Hammer of Soul is not the best super, especially on Prismatic. But it allows our weapon to set off those ignitions. You could maybe switch your super to Thunder Crash and allow your weapon to set off the bolt charges. That would be perfectly fine. But if I was going more into bolt charge, I'm going over to Arc because it's just better with the rally barricade. I did have about 140 class ability, which I needed to use my class ability more often, but it gives you a nice little overshield when you pop that thruster, and then you want to get close to 100 weapons to get that 15% extra damage to your weapon. That includes your Praxic blade. So on the mods, we're stacking a bunch of font mods and adding a little regen to our grenade. On the helmet, you'll take Kinetic Siphon to let your Praxic blade spawn orbs of power. I took 2 super fonts in this spot as well to push that super up a little bit. You could trade one of these out if you want. On the gauntlets, I did like a bolstering detonation, grants class ability when you cause damage with that grenade. This includes your unbreakable shield, and then 2 grenade fonts to push that grenade up to 150 to make unbreakable feel better. Our Unbreakable still spawns orbs of power thanks to the firepower mod that's built into Armamentarium as well. On the chest piece, that's just your damage reduction, so match whatever activity you're doing. On the boots, we'll take Innervation, reduce grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. This could be slotted out for pretty much anything you want. And then I did like 2 kinetic weapon surges just to let Praxic blade hit 17% harder. On your class item, I took 2 class fonts. Again, that pushes your class stat up another 40. And I had a bomber just so thruster feeds back into the grenade, but again, this could be switched out. So I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you found it helpful. I'm still in love with this Praxic blade, and I'm gonna continue to use it because I still don't even have the last part of the artifact mods unlocked. Oh, speaking of artifact mods, I'll show the artifact mods up on the screen that I was using. I already went over the 2 main important ones, but you could add in Dielectric. Defeating arc debuff targets grants bolt charge. This pairs nicely with our Transcendence form and that electrified snare grenade. Then I also had combination Argent Blade for that extra damage on my sword, and of course Kinetic Synthesis to get extra ammo coming back as I'm using the sword, and Elemental Siphon to create those fire sprites that you see out on the field when I pick them up. Those also give us grenade energy back as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.